Have you ever had a student confidently tell you that the author must be sad just because a character in the book started crying? Oh yeah, it's such a common mix-up. Today, we're going to break down a really key standard, helping our youngest readers hear the unique voice of a story by separating the author who writes the words from the speaker who's actually telling it. And this isn't just some tiny detail. It's the foundation for understanding point of view down the road.
Let's be real, this idea can feel super abstract for our little learners. For us, the difference is totally obvious. But for a kindergartner or first grader, getting that the person who wrote the book isn't always the one talking inside the book, wow, that is a huge cognitive leap in how they understand what they're reading. But hey, don't you worry, we have absolutely got your back. In this explainer, we are going to walk through a practical, step-by-step lesson plan. We'll show you exactly what to say and what to do, pulling everything directly from the official evidence document and strategy card to make your planning a total breeze. Okay, so before we jump into the how, we need to be crystal clear on the what. Let's take a second to unpack the purpose of the standard so we know exactly what we want our students to know and be able to do by the time we're done.
So your students, they probably already get that an author writes the book and an illustrator draws the pictures. I mean, we've been teaching that since day one, right? This standard, K-2.T.C.2, it adds a whole new, delicious layer. It introduces this idea of a speaker, a character or a narrator, as the specific voice that's telling the story. So the big leap here is moving from who made the book to who is talking to me inside the book. That's the key. So what's our end goal? What does done look like? Well, we're aiming for students who can do 3 key things. First, they can still name the author and illustrator. Second, they can actually pinpoint the speaker in the text. And third, and this is where the real deep learning happens, they can take it a step further and explain how that speaker feels or what their message is, using clues from the story. And to get them there, our #1 absolute best friend for planning is the evidence document. Let's take a look at how this document helps us define what mastery looks like and even anticipate student needs before we ever start teaching. Seriously, think of this document as your lesson planning North Star. It tells you exactly what student responses count as real evidence of learning, and maybe, just as important, what common mistakes to be on the lookout for. This side-by-side comparison right here is a game changer for planning. On the left, you see what success looks like. A student says, "I think the rabbit is telling the story." But on the right, you see the #1 pitfall, confusing the author with the speaker. Knowing this ahead of time means we can plan for that specific misconception before it even happens. Okay, so our goal is clear. We know what evidence we're looking for. Now we're ready to teach. Let's shift over to the strategy card and see how this all builds into a simple but really powerful instructional routine. We're going to walk right through that gradual release model from I do all the way to you do. This strategy is called author/speaker spotting, and it's a super simple 4-step routine. First, you read the text. Then, you guide students to identify the speaker. Next, you discuss the speaker's message or feelings. And finally, you talk about how that message was communicated. It's clean, it's direct, and it is so effective. We're going to start with the I do phase, where we model our thinking out loud. You can see that teacher move call out right on the screen. Using language pulled directly from the document really sets the purpose clearly. A story has an author and a speaker. Let's be detectives and listen for the speaker's voice. This simple little frame turns listening into a fun, active job. Okay, now we move into the we do phase. So after reading a page or two, you pause. And as that quick check call-out shows, you ask a direct guiding question. Now, this isn't a quiz. It's a scaffold to gently guide their thinking toward the voice they're hearing inside the story. And here's how we respond. We're looking for answers that link the speaker to evidence from the book. But check out that misconception alert. What happens if a student defaults to the author's name? We need a correction ready to go. And the key is to validate their thinking. That's a great thought. And then gently redirect them back to the character inside the story. Here is another really powerful we do question that pushes our students to a higher level of thinking. By asking them to analyze the speaker's feelings, we're asking them to use actual evidence from the text. And that evidence alignment callout just reminds us that this question connects perfectly back to the success criteria we set up at the beginning. And finally, we release that responsibility in the you do phase. A quick turn and talk is perfect for this. And while they're chatting, that student look force callout reminds us what we're watching for. Are they pointing to the text? Are they naming a character as the speaker?
This little practice run gets them all set for their independent exit ticket.
Of course, every classroom has a whole range of learners, right? So let's briefly touch on how we can differentiate this lesson to make sure we're meeting everyone's needs. The documents provide some really great ideas. For students who need a little more support, things like sentence frames and visual anchor charts are fantastic scaffolds. And for those students who are ready for a bigger challenge, having them compare the speakers in two different versions of the same story, like The Three Little Pigs, is a wonderful way to deepen their thinking. So the lesson is done. How do we know if they actually got it? Well, this is where the exit ticket comes in. It's our final check for understanding.
Take a look at this. The student's exit ticket on the left, it's just a simple drawing of the rabbit with the word speaker, is direct visual proof that they understand. It aligns perfectly with the acceptable evidence from our planning document that you see there on the right. This, right here, is what mastery looks like in action. Okay, let's wrap this all up with the most important takeaways so you can put this into practice in your own classroom, maybe even tomorrow. Here are your keys to success. Number 1, always activate that prior knowledge about authors and illustrators first. Number 2, don't reinvent the wheel. Use those powerful, targeted questions directly from the evidence document. And number 3, proactively plan your redirection for that super common author/speaker mix-up. So there you have it, a complete evidence-based plan for teaching a tricky but really essential concept. The only question left is, what story are you going to pick to help your students become expert author and speaker spotters this week?